Hello there, good evening and welcome. This is Abuja Dispatch. Be it economic, political, and social life of the people, events break across the body policy, particularly from the nation's federal capital city, Abuja. What we try to do every week, therefore, on this program is to relive to your living rooms those events and issues, and indeed those characters which have shaped the thoughts of many in the outgoing week. Adegboyega Arogbodo is my name. Let's start off with those stories that made up our news headlines in the last 7 days.
The Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of $11.17 billion to link Nigeria's coastal cities by rail in 6 years. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed briefed State House correspondents after the virtual FEC meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo on Wednesday at the presidential villa. Mohammed said the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, presented 2 memos which had to do with the federal government's commitment to expanding and consolidating on the rail project. The first one has to do with the Kano-Jibia Road, and the other has to do with the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri Rail. The federal government has announced plans to disburse about $50 million to 7 states to develop specific water schemes. The funds are part of the $700 million loan given by the World Bank to complete water infrastructure projects and improve water supply across the country. States to benefit from these funds are Katsina, Imo, Plateau, Kaduna, Delta, Bauchi, and Ekiti. Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu, who addressed State House media during the week, said the states were chosen after meeting certain criteria. He explained that other states will be given grants for their water and irrigation projects. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to 12 supporters of Sunday Igboho who were arrested in Oyo State. Operatives of the Department of State Services (DSS) had on July 1 raided Igboho's residence in Oyo and arrested 12 of his supporters. The arrested persons were subsequently moved to the Federal Capital Territory, where they have been in detention. Subsequently, the suspects, through their lawyer, Pelumi Olajengbesi, filed an application asking the court to inquire into the circumstances constituting grounds of their arrest and detention since July 2, 2021, and where it deems fit admit applicants on bail. At the resumed hearing on Wednesday, Olajengbesi, counsel to the applicants, asked the court to admit his clients to bail.
Drug abuse, addictions, and trafficking have a universal propaganda that transverses across socio-economic, cultural, and religious boundaries. Despite the efforts of the Nigerian tiers of governments and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, to stem this tide in the country, there has been a consistent rise in the number of cases, especially among the youths. This is our focus tonight on Dateline. Stay with us.
The consumption of hard drugs in amounts and ways not authorized by medical professionals has become but a silent reality that Nigerians should worry about. Although drug abuse cuts across all social strata, powerful statistics make it abundantly clear that the youths, mostly males with a sprinkle of females, are the real culprits.
Abuse of narcotics has incapacitated the workforce of organizations and is destroying our communities and our society. It has brought about family disintegration, decimated the capacities of our youths, and given rise to all types of crimes such as insurgency, terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, rape, and violent extremism, which have befallen nations, including our dear country, Nigeria, with attendant health consequences on the users.
Studies have shown that there are 3 main forms of drug abuse. They include the use of mood-altering or psychoactive drugs, performance-enhancing drugs and dependency drugs, while mood-altering or psychoactive drugs such as codeine and tramadol affects the user's ability to reason and gives him a full sense of well-being. Performance-enhancing drugs such as cocaine and heroin gives him extra stamina or energy. Dependency drugs typify the kind of drugs that people abuse in the course of trying to overcome some health issues or challenges or taking to maintain a particular lifestyle. This stamina awareness has made getting to the roots of the social challenge more compelling.
Codeine has no place in cough therapy. So we can do without codeine. In fact, most hospitals don't treat cough syrup with codeine. Usually you don't see it on prescriptions. Even before the ban, you don't see it on prescriptions because it doesn't really give you much. If you treat a patient with cough syrup with codeine, it keeps coming back.
You find that Nigeria has been a transit route for illicit substances, and because of that, for substances that cannot find their way out or through the country or find their way into the country are likely going to be abused within the country.
Apart from negative peer influence, unemployment, anxiety, and a continuous need to run away from problems are the major reason why Nigerian youths take to drugs. This, however, may not be the only explanation fueling the social evil. Specifically, the desire by these youths to hide their weaknesses, failure on the part of parents to raise overall healthy children, broken home syndrome, and pressure to succeed at all costs also promotes drug abuse among youths. It has been proven that drug consumption in amount or methods not authorized by medical professionals has in the past led to mental disorder. It has also disrupted the user's education and future, led to poor attitude to work, and caused health problems such as lung disease, heart disease, and death, among others.
From some of the research findings that we have seen, and from the experiences working through communities and everywhere, we can see that we have a growing drug problem and many young people are getting involved. Even considering some of the national research work that has been done, talking about the integrated biological behavioral surveillance survey, most of the injecting drug users they were interviewed were reportedly to be young people.
Presently, and when I say presently, I need always to be careful because the last drug use survey dates now back to 2018, and of course 3 years have passed by in the meanwhile. But at that time, the prevalence was most expressed in the age bracket between 25 and 39 years old. I expect that this is going to probably get increasingly younger, and then we're going to see more and more users also of a younger age.
It is no doubt a socio-economic problem that requires a prompt solution. The Social Development Index showed that the development of young people has gradually deteriorated in the past decade. These adolescent issues and problems should therefore provide useful pointers for designing the Positive Youth Development Program to be judiciously sponsored by government or its reliable development partners. The federal government and its agencies must come up with strategies that will effectively tackle the challenge from its roots. Before now, what the government is doing in this direction is but a palliative measure which can only provide temporary relief while leaving the disease and its ravages unaffected. To succeed in this task, therefore, government must evolve workable strategies towards creating jobs for qualified youths, addressing the challenges facing education sector in terms of funding, and tackling the infrastructural challenges.
Whatever government does to interdict and punish those who peddle and traffic in drugs, I think everybody should go for that. But I always urge government that those who use are victims of a problem and they need help, and we should try to help them.
Reorientation of the youths on cultural values by faith-based organizations and civil society groups will assist them to quit the consumption of illicit drugs and the unwholesome behaviors that endanger their lives and threaten the society. Parents and guardians must strive to monitor their children at all times and be aware of the kind of friends they keep as well as the places they go to. Unfortunately, many young people derive their identity from their peer groups and their extensive social network. Youths, on their parts, must recognize that the future is full of promises as it's fraught with uncertainty. They should therefore develop the capacity to seek activities laced with highest values. After all, drugs addiction, misuse or abuse have never helped anybody.
Thanks for staying tuned. All eyes are now on the All Progressives Congress APC as it gazes at 2023 following the recently concluded World Congresses. Meanwhile, many of the views that the multiple crises bedeviling the ruling party right now underscore its inherent contradictions, lack of effective leadership, and inability to manage its evident achievements. Our guest tonight on the next segment is the Director General of the Progressive Governors Forum. It is a no-holds-barred session. Join us again. Welcome to the Split Views segments of our program, Abuja Dispatch. And on Split Views tonight, we take on the Director General Progressive Governors Forum, Mr. Salihu Lukman. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, sir, the APC World Congresses were held last Saturday across the country in many states, though there were dissenting voices in some quarters, leading to parallel congresses in states like Kwara, Ekiti, and probably one or two others. Now, tell us, do you think this is a good start for the evolution of a new party structure, where the party leaders and, by extension, the national leadership will emerge?
I think the first thing that we need to get very clear, you can't have any leadership contest without disagreements. Because in the first place, it won't be contest if those disagreements are not there. So when you say dissenting voices, I don't think they are dissenting to the extent that they disagree with going into contest. So first and foremost, I think it was a good thing. It was expected and go into the history of political parties in this country. Every contest has those elements of disagreements with the results. And if they don't have, it means the stakes are not high. Because the stakes are high, they are going to lead, this is the foundation that is being laid for the contest for 2023. World Congress take place, the next will be local government congresses, then state congresses will take place and national convention. So you are laying the foundation for the face of the new leadership of the party, if you like, the face of the new APC that is being born.
For the decision where we have those parallel congresses, how will such be?
No, get it very clear. That is why it is power contest. It's about power. I have argued on over and over and over again. The convention of all political parties is that those who want to contest election want to control party structures. But the mistake, and there are evidences all over the place, even within the Nigerian setting, to prove that whether you are in control of the structures of party or not, it does not disqualify you from contesting. It may have indicated some good signal about probabilities, but it certainly will not have confirmed disqualification. So this is what is at stake. And that is why some people who believe that their first measure of success is to control the party structures desperately go about it in a manner that creates almost legitimacy problem for what is being organized. And you find out that at the end of the day, that is why leadership is not popularity contest. Leaders will have to make pronouncement, leaders at national level will have to make pronouncement in terms of, which is because before you do parallel Congress, first, there is a committee that was sent from Abuja to go and organize Is it the committee that split and go and conduct one? When they are not the committee, is the Congress that is organized by that committee sent from Abuja that is legitimate. And I think that all those issues will be resolved eventually.
All right. Between 2015 and now, there is no evidence to show that the APC still enjoys the same popularity rating. I happen to witness a lot of their campaign processes in 2015, and I know the kind of support that Nigerians give to the ruling APC. Within that then and now, even though we have some defections from the opposition parties, do you think that the party is still retaining that confidence and popularity?
You see, you have to get it clear. No party in the world, anywhere in the world, can enjoy the same level of popularity rating. I give you a typical example, President Obama. When he first came in as President of the United States, the popularity rating was high. Before the election that returned him, it dipped down. And you've seen what happened eventually, which led to the emergence of Trump. You are dealing with a human society, and human beings have their expectation, no doubt about it. In 2015, of course, the frustration was all over against the PDP, which is still there. And I keep arguing, part of the major issue that really assisted the APC was the denial mode of the PDP leadership. They had internal problem, but they believe there was no problem. They can continue to manipulate situation. As APC, we came in, certainly there are issues that are still facing us as a country as challenges. Issue of insecurity, and those challenges are not as a result of lack of initiative or lack of response by the government, but they are new dynamic. The good thing which I keep saying, our leaders and our governments are not in denial mode. They acknowledge all of this. And they are working, to the best of my knowledge, to find solution to all these problems. And that is why you find out that as APC, once we notice we are having problem, we have leadership of the party that was not responsive enough to the challenges facing the party. We went into contest in 2019, which created a lot of leadership conflict. And after the election, the leadership of the party under Comrade Oshumole was resistant to any attempt to correct the situation, to reconcile leaders. And our leaders took the right decision by dissolving that leadership and beginning, almost resetting the party to start afresh. And that is why we had to start from what Congress is. So the face of the new APC that is going to emerge is certainly not going to be the APC that people associate with all the problems that are there. And to that extent, therefore, we are going to have a situation that, look at what is happening in some of the flashpoints that you're talking about. Negotiation, even the decision of the national leadership to say, look, congresses should be organized based on consensus. Ideally, in principle, you can contest it. But what I have witnessed in my own constituency was basically a kind of negotiation, a kind of recognition of everybody that is a player, So contest took place in a different mode. So I have confidence, and I think every party member should have confidence that the party is going to be reborn in a way that will raise the confidence of Nigerians. If you see what is happening in other political parties, especially the PDP, you will appreciate that when leaders of the party are not in denial, they take decisions that are painful, but eventually help to resolve internal challenges. But because PDP is in denial, look at what is happening. The party is disintegrating almost by the hour. You know, so and for me, it's not good for the democracy. A party like PDP should not disintegrate. It's not for us to appeal to their leaders, but if they choose, that is the way they want to go, their own business. But the good thing for us in APC is that our leaders are not in denial. So, to come back to your question, we are definitely going to continue to have a situation where popularity rating of parties will oscillate, will go up, come down. The business of leadership is to be able to understand what is required to respond to the expectations of citizens.
You put it that even some members of the party are still doubting whether the party is still retaining that elements of equity and justice as it were. You know, some say that mutual confidence, you know, is gradually diminishing, you know, in some quarters. How has the party, you know, as it is, because in some states we have these leadership structure problems and all that. How has the reconciliation committee been able to go? I mean, how far will you describe their function so far?
I think there are two issues to it. The first issue is to look at issues of justice and equity in terms of responding to wider expectation of Nigerians. In terms of development initiative, in terms of managing resources as best as possible. And I think to the best of my knowledge, APC government, especially at federal level, is doing very well. Part of my challenge, which I reflected over and over and over again, is that we need to wake up functionaries of government to be able to broadcast or popularize what they are doing, you know. At the moment, so much is taken for granted that you are constructing a road or you are building railways. You expect people to recognize it. It's not automatic. It requires a lot of engagement. The second issue to your question is the question of internal agitation by members of APC based on strategy to position themselves and negotiate either position in government or place themselves in a very conspicuous position ahead of being recognized for election in 2023. I think that is where, again, we take a lot for granted. And sometimes you as journalists, you need to also help Nigerians to understand some of the dynamics that are being played out. Somebody can position himself, he wants to be a minister of the Federal Republic. He didn't get the ministerial position. Because the person didn't get that, whatever government does is bad. There is a lot of those going on now. Or somebody believes he has aspired or she has aspired to become governor of a state. Because we operate a democracy where the winner take all. You end up with a situation where even the person who came second doesn't have anything. And therefore, on the basis of that, whatever the government does is bad. Now, those are some of the cries going on. And you find out that largely because we are in a democracy where, for instance, PDP never expected to lose 2015 election in the first place. And even in losing, they want to retain the same level of privileges. So those cries are going on. Now, as a member of APC, my responsibility is to look at things objectively. I should be able to say, for instance, if you are crying for justice based on self-centered approach to tell you, no, I think you are not being fair. So there are many of those things going on, which is not fair to Nigerians and not fair to our democracy.
I don't see secession as the way out of the current challenges afflicting our country. Instead, advocates of secession should have a change of heart, and I recommend dialogue as a crucial option for addressing such problems. Besides, there's a National Assembly where some of the grievances can be addressed, because dialogue is a far better alternative that costs less than consequences of the weight that has been erected to frustrate more flow of conversations between the government and the citizens to arrive at a national consensus. And the sooner we face issues such as the huge infrastructural deficit, our shrinking oil revenue, looming food insecurity as a consequence of insecurity in our agricultural zones, the better. Seriously, we need to focus on diversification of the economy.
That is how far time can permit us tonight on Abuja Dispatch. For further information, comments, and suggestions, you can reach us out on any of our various social media platforms. Thank you for sharing your quality time with us tonight on Abuja Dispatch. A week from now, we'll bring you another refreshing package. Same time, same station. Adegboyega Arogodo is my name. Have a good night.